Yeah, I just want to clear a few things. I think it's historical time to do exactly this video, and people getting confused because of so many lives, so many lies, so many lives lost, and so many lies repeated over and over again. So you understand, because of so many lives lost and because of so many lies repeated over and over again. A short video, it's not going to be a long one. It's just a political thing. I was going to comment on that issue. It pertains to Zelensky. He is criticizing Europe for not taking Ukraine inside of the European Union, but I'm going to do better if I just go and I Google Zelensky, and we wouldn't, no, I can see what he is talking about, the World War III right here. I was talking a lot about World War III past few days. Now he's talking about the World War III. He claims that the Vladimir Putin started the World War III. Do we have anything like this here? Zelensky pressing the European Union. This was exactly the Facebook. What Facebook advertised just right now. He was just addressing European Union, and Russia blocks Ukrainian European Union membership for 50 years. Let me put it this way. I don't know how that will be 50 years, but all right, it doesn't matter. Let's get the thing straight. Let's get things straight. Let's get things straight, okay? You people know what Gaza is. You know all about the Gaza who committed the genocide. You know exactly what war on Palestine is. You know exactly how the war started, through a British mandate that granted basically Jews after the World War II their independence. You know about that. I don't know how many of you are aware of it. The first country that recognized Israeli independence, however, was Russia. I should say Soviet Union. I don't know how many of you know that, but yeah, that's actually a fact. Russia practically was the first country that recognized Israel. I just want to get facts straight here. I don't like the idea about talking about the World War II by the people who actually did the World War III. I should say World War III. I don't like people talking about the World War III by the people who actually created the World War III. This is World War III. You do understand that we are in year 1940 right now, if you were to compare this to the past. I don't want to see at this point in time, I don't want to know about, I don't want to talk about Italians made a serious threat to Iran that they will join neo-Nazi Germany in attacking Iran. During the World War II, it was a neo-Nazi Germany that led what was afterwards known as Axis of Evil. During the World War III, United States of America replaced a neo-Nazi Germany. You do understand that part. You do understand that part. Let's get the shit straight. During the World War II, Germany was the one that led Axis of Evil. Italy followed, with also Imperial Japan. 3 countries formed Rome, Berlin, Tokyo. And then you have countries such as Bulgaria, countries such as Romania, countries such as Hungary, boosting a support for New World Order. That also was a New World Order. Through a neo-Nazi Germany. You do understand that. These are historical facts. This is just the way it is. Poland did not exist, nor the Czech Republic, I should say Slovakia, Czechoslovakia. They were taken over by the neo-Nazi Germany. Poland was split on half. It's not a first time Russians are in bed with Germans. What you watch today in Ukraine is taking place, we have already seen during the World War II. We are almost at identical, facing the identical issues to those that pertain to year 1940, World War II. Except that the neo-Nazi Germany was replaced by United States of America. And that's a fact. You can see what's happening right here. It's called Israel. Did not exist for 2,000 years. Did not exist for 2,000 years. Did not exist for 2,000 years. Is again back on the map, if it ever existed. If it ever existed. And the way it was placed on the map surpassed crimes of Adolf Hitler. So it is unlikely that Jews or Americans, I should say Americans, Jews are just a figurine that has been moved on a chessboard by a much greater axis of evil we known for throughout the entire history of the world. I'm talking about the colonizers. I'm talking about Meloni here, it's called Italy. I'm talking about France here, it's called Macron today. And I am, of course, talking about greater than Great Britain, which at one point in time in this world even occupied 25% of the land. 25% of the land. We are talking about the crimes against humanity which greatly surpassed those of World War II Adolf Hitler. We are talking about the colonialism. And when you join colonialism with, I should say, imperialism, with neo-Nazism, then exactly is what, and you add to that also United States of America, then you get exactly this deadly mixture that the world is dealing with. Now the war ended in 1945, believe it or not, 80 years after the World War II. Today, 81 in 2026. That's exactly what we have going on. Of course, this did not start in 2026, but as you know, the Russian invasion of Ukraine started in 2022. And then Israel joined in 2023. I'm not going to say that it joined, because the war on Ukraine was actually the Israeli war for Palestine. I am suggesting that the one who made the World War III were Ukrainian people who gave their nuclear arsenal to the Russians upon the fall of the Soviet Union. That's exactly what I am suggesting. Nobody normal would give, under circumstances to which Ukrainians alone witness to historically, nuclear arsenal, nuclear bombs, nukes, back to somebody who caused them enormous amount of suffering, death, devastation, other than through American assurance, through the German assurance of keeping the people safe in one piece, taking care of them. I should say, other than the same people that are running the show in Ukraine today, and those are exactly the people, like during 2014, one of them escaped even to the Russia when they surrendered Crimea, when they surrendered Donetsk. Yanukovych disappeared to the Russia. He escaped to the Russia from Ukraine. Ukrainian, in a parenthesis, president. So we have two types of people in Ukraine. In Ukraine, we have Ukrainian people. These are the people who believe that as long as they're going to follow the pattern of the NATO, it's now known as a so-called NATO. There was no NATO during the World War II, but it's known as a NATO. After the World War II, to counter the Soviet threat, they created the so-called NATO alliance. So as long as they're going to follow whatever NATO has to say, it's going to be all good. And we have that second type of people that are way smarter, although there is no difference between the two poles, and they are completely aware of Russian-Americans alliance, of the Russian-American, Russian-German alliance, completely aware of French, Russian, Italian, Russian alliance. There's also this kind of people in Ukraine. And in fact, they are so smart, these Zelenskiyys from Ukraine, that they spread throughout the Eastern Europe like a deadliest virus, killing Eastern European people through the Poland, through the Czech Republic, through the Slovakia, through the... I am from Slovenia. I'm in the furthest end of this so-called Slavic world. They get to me all the way here. And it was nothing since the childhood other than killing, poisoning, torture. Most of it, more than anywhere else, it was done in Russia and throughout Ukraine. Throughout Ukraine by the Russians, by the Ukrainian Russians, by the Russians, by the Ukrainian traitors, by those even that hated Russia, because they wanted this case to look of epic proportions, but took no responsibility for it, so they could get weaponry and stuff from their American, I should say, NATO allies, not knowing that their counterparts were already a step ahead and controlled the other side, to which Zelenskiyy is referring to as European Union, and is also referring to as how Putin created the World War III. Putin is you, Zelensky. Let's not get confused. You are Putin. You are Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. That is you, Zelensky. Vladimir Zelensky. That's you. You are Vladimir Putin. You killed a lot of people throughout the Eastern Europe. claiming that they are trying to do to you, I don't know what they are trying to do to you. That it's going to be war on Ukraine, it's going to be war on Ukraine, and they're doing to you, and it's terror, and this and that. At the same time, you went on, you, FSU, KGB, you went on to scan entire Ukraine using me for the pro-Russian and for the pro-Ukrainian people. And you did this through the most bestial torture, trauma, sleep deprivation, and poisoning-based torture procedures. Total bestiality. And you did this hand in hand with the Russians. And you did it throughout the Ukraine, and you did it across the border, on the Russian side of the border, where you also have Ukrainian community. You almost killed me. You came very close on so many occasions to get me killed, that I had to run out of this so-called Slovenia on quite a few occasions too. But there was nowhere to run, Zelenskiyy, as you know. There is no escape from the people like you, because you control Ukraine. You don't have to worry about what happened on the Russian side, which I would refer to even as a Poland, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Croatia, Serbia, Bulgaria. And through the Russia, Zelensky, you control United States of America, Germany, France, Italy, Romania, Spain, Sweden, Norway, Netherlands, etc., etc. That's why I said, for those Ukrainians, there's also another type of Ukrainians that are a step ahead. Don't teach me about who started the World War II. The World War II was started by the people who gave their Ukrainian nuclear arsenal. Not, I'm going to say, their Ukrainian, but by the people who gave the Ukrainian nuclear arsenal to the Russia. And it's not even back to the Russia, but to the Russia, because Ukraine had its own nuclear arsenal. Don't fucking teach us who started the World War II and what Russia is to America and what America is to the Russia. Or I should say what Germany is to the Russia and what Russia is to the Germany during destruction of the Ukraine, which is taking place. Don't fucking mentor anybody about what goes on. You almost killed me, but I'm still alive. I'm now 54 years of life. You destroyed me. I was thrown twice into the psychiatric hospital, but your henchman, you are coming here to this place in Novo Mesto City since you were 11 years of age. You were coming here till 2020. And at the end, you excused yourself in 2018. You said, all along you claimed with Joe Biden, with Donald Trump, with Barack Obama, with George Bush, with all these people that you were meeting here. Actually, Putin was meeting, and you were meeting them. That I would be witnessing and stuff like this. In 2018, however, you changed the story, and you no longer wanted to have anything to do with me. You pointed at the other side. You said, never, never. You pointed at the other side will resolve the case. Therefore, Americans, Germans, and French, and etc., knowing exactly what the plan was all along. Now, you couldn't kill me no more in 2018 because now the proofs came out through the Poland about MK-Ultra bestiality performed on me, about existence of MK-Ultra procedure. It became tricky. It became complicated, but on the other hand, you became honest about it all. Don't fucking lessen the world about who created the World War II. Because the people, I should say World War III, the people who gave the nuclear arsenal to the Russia are the people who gave Donetsk and Crimea to the Russia. The people who gave nuclear arsenal to the Russia upon Ukrainian so-called independence, today continue to govern from the Kiev. They continue to kill Ukrainian people, and they continue to kill people like myself throughout the Eastern Europe in order to assemble Soviet Union back. Don't listen about who created the World War III. Don't listen us about who created the World War III. Because it's very, very evident who created the World War III. The situation is almost identical to the one before the World War II, when the Germany and Russia split Poland. They made a contract, they signed it, and they split Poland. Except that we have United States of America substituting neo-Nazi Germany during the World War III. It's not difficult to see. And we also have a French Macron, not only Italian fascist Meloni, giving threats. Macron was very much into the war with Iran. And so was Merz, von der Leyen, I should say. Don't give us a lesson about who started the World War II. When you don't even have a capacity to resolve the stuff that you started. Ukraine lost because of people like yourself, Zelensky, 20% of the land. Don't give us a lesson about European Union. Who doesn't want to accept the Ukraine into the European Union and so on? Because you are behind it. You did absolutely everything possible so that Ukraine would not get into the European Union. In fact, I will remind you, Russia was offered membership inside of the NATO alliance. Russia was offered membership inside of the European Union on multiple occasions. Not once, but on multiple occasions. Upon the split of the Soviet Union, Russia was offered by Bill Clinton, by George Bush. They negotiated in the background if the Russia would like to get a member of the European Union, I should say NATO alliance. I witnessed to it. And the Russia did not want to become a member of the European Union, did not want to become a member of the NATO alliance. Do you know why? Because of you, Zelensky, because of the people like you. Because if Russia would become a member of the NATO alliance, of the European Union member, then people like you would be without the job. Russia wanted big piece of Ukraine, nonetheless entire Ukraine. And entering in the NATO, entering European Union would disallow Russia to engage in the war. Yeah, you cannot engage in the war against another European Union member state. You cannot engage in the war against another NATO member state if you become a NATO member. So that's why I said, because of you, Zelensky. You talk about who started the World War III. You fucking tell me, Zelensky, why you give the nuclear arsenal back to the Russia. And you explain to me why you negotiated with the Vladimir Putin inside of our house, together with the George Bush, who was modernizing together with the Germans, with the Kohl, with the Merkel, with the Germans, Russian military, Russian arsenal, which was in a stone age upon the Soviet fall, the Soviet Union fall. Russian military was like in a stone age when compared to today, but not only compared to today, but just to the years after that arrived. When you were meeting with, when Bush, you watched Bush modernizing its, it was not only you, it was all your Ukrainian presidents, modernizing its arsenal, actually not modernizing it, but building entire military structure, factories, manufacturing business, so they could again pose as independent and competitive to American war machinery. You are meeting with the Putin not to discuss Crimea and Donetsk. You are meeting with the Putin in respect to the issues of Sumy, Kramatorsk, Slavyansk, basically areas on the other side of the Ukrainian border where the Ukrainian minority was still, on what to do with them, on how to deal with them, on how to get that second chunk of the Ukraine to the Russia. The first chunk of Ukraine, which is Crimea and Donetsk, you automatically assigned to Putin, to the Kremlin. So you're gonna fucking talk about who started the World War III and about who you are? You confused Ukrainian people about who you are. But you will never confuse me about who you are. You can repeat your lies over and over and over and over again, while we are watching loss of lives all over the place. All these countries were destroyed because of you, Zelensky. All these countries here. The first passport that you applied for, foreign passport that you wanted, was an Israeli passport, was a Jew passport. Yes or no? Yes or no? You fucking answer these questions to me. Iraq was destroyed. Syria was burned to the ground. Egypt was destroyed in a big way. Libya destroyed. And I already explained that the Russians and Americans, I should say, Germans, Swedish, Norwegians, Dutch, Hollandese, British, French, Italians, and Spaniards engaged in negotiations to have a 9/11, to have a September 11, 2001, the Twin Towers bombing, already openly with the Russians negotiating it, already in as early as in 1978. 1978, you can see on the blog, I published it for the people so that you would not get confused about what goes on. We had Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact. Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact was the division of the Poland during the World War II. We have that pact on the table already in 1979. Actually, 1978. This one here. Josip Broz Tito got the offer for the Ribbentrop-Molotov, for the new Ribbentrop-Molotov plan in as early as in 1976. Before I even entered the first grade of the grammar school, the contract of the Central Intelligence Agency already offered the contract for the 9/11, 2001, to the Josip Broz Tito. He had an apartment in the New York. I was so much in the New York. I was a lot in the New York. And I became the main spy for the New York. Zelensky, you're a Russian, first of all. And the second is, you're working with Americans, with the Germans, on a new Ribbentrop-Molotov plan already since 1976. That is for sure. And it was established that there are also some other buildings. Central Intelligence Agency offered some other buildings also that could be used for the same purpose as it was done afterwards with the 9/11. And it was not the Iraq that was the original plan of 9/11, but eventually was Iran, the one that is facing the ultimate threat now. Zelensky, you can repeat lies as much as you want and you can kill as many as you like, but I am here for the people to see in the dark who you are, what you are, who are still the same people running the Ukraine, the Ukrainian world of affairs, and where for entire Eastern Europe to understand where the whole thing is heading to. They already know it. They don't want to say it publicly. They were extremely dissatisfied. It's something I couldn't even understand during MK Ultra, because I believe that British are not going to do such a thing. Americans are not going to do such a thing. Yet they continue to follow through religiously. Your impact together with Russia and with China. You can read on my blog, China knew all about 9/11 just as well as everybody else. As a matter of fact, while I am talking to you about these things here, on writing these things on the blog, that's a China White right there, nightclub. China had absolutely nothing to do with it. And China opposed to the 9/11. But China knew. And knowing and not doing anything about it is just as bad. China might have not even had a chance. China maybe would have done different. But it's too small to counter and Russia and America and Germany and Italy and France and etc., etc., etc. You understand? You can repeat the lies over and over and over and over and over and over, with a great loss of lives parallel to it. But the truth is truth. It looks weird, but the truth is true. And people start to ask a real question. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's 1940. We are already in the World War III. How this thing is going to end for any one of you, for any one of us? Where is this thing going to? Is it the same people, the same thing? I should say there are different actors, even different countries with a totally different role, like United States of America. You possibly could not believe something is going to develop into something like this. You possibly could not believe American conscience is so low on so much on a dog. My God, they swear on two things. One is on a Bible, and the other one is on a so-called civil rights, yet none of the other is legitimate. See this thing here? All you gotta do is look at it real good. And it's not difficult to understand where the whole thing is going to. It's already went down the hill. Putin didn't start anything. Putin just continued. Whatever your dad started before 1976. It was already other buildings they contemplated also on 9/11 they would use. And then it was Twin Towers and so on. And as I speak to you this stuff, this is what I find in particularly disgusting. American Central Intelligence Agency and Federal Bureau Investigation do exactly as I described right here. Exactly as I described right here. They have people participate in all these Facebook groups, forums. Yeah? They actually instructed me to post into Facebook groups and etc., etc. The bigger, the better. The more people know about this, the better. Central Intelligence Agency is off. The FBI is off. Because the one who always wins, regardless of how true the ugly is always the one at the top. America was founded on a slavery, on a black slavery. America is the country where not even 1% of American natives was left. That's how they purged them. Today, when compared to American native population, there's not even 1% of American population when it comes to the American natives. When it comes to Australia, it's 0% of natives left. How do they win? How these people win? These people control, including Facebook groups. There is something they control that none of you can possibly refuse. That's actually jobs. Your jobs in America. It's called negotiations. So the more people become aware of it, the more people get two things. And job offers and death threats. I should say permanent unemployment if they don't agree with this stuff. And this is how it goes. The more people know, the stronger the corrupt circle becomes. And the stronger the state. Yeah, that's why I stated, as a matter of fact, as I write this, as I talk about this stuff, Federal Bureau of Investigation and Central Intelligence Agency are doing a background job and are doing absolutely everything possible to get me destroyed. I couldn't bloody believe when I learned about this thing here. Yeah, this guy was involved in it. He's a male, actually, that was making those pictures. And I think that he was using his ex-wife, or I think maybe he's got even a sister. I think he was using his sister, actually. To pose me with the pictures. I bit lost it when I saw this thing here. I lost it. I lost it. Not because I would not embrace this picture, which was involved in MK Ultra. It's really beautiful. It's really art. It's beautiful. Everything is beautiful. It's nice. It's dedicated to the fireman, and etc., etc. And the girl who posed as a gallery before the 9/11 and even after the 9/11 came to place, not before the 9/11, but before the new World Trade Center was built, she already posed with the pictures that she's going to have her gallery and etc., etc. Then a new World Trade Center was built, and they presented pictures also like this in that newly built World Trade Center building. It was very nice. It's actually a male who painted these pictures, who, like I said, was involved in it. I was shocked. I was shocked because of two things. Nobody paid attention to this thing here, to this comment. Nobody paid any attention to it, to my posts on Facebook. Nobody. Nobody. There was finally a girl also involved in MK Ultra, Noelle Lynch Cassidy, and afterwards also Lisa Sutton, that gave at least angry remark, which I hoped for, definitely. I was not a very kind person here. I actually spit on you. Spit on your American conscience. I couldn't fucking believe that a painting like this, which is really nice, can get 423 likes, hearts, everything, and I wouldn't even get hello, anything. This goes to show how powerful and what exactly Central Intelligence Agency and her husband, Federal Bureau of Investigation, are doing in the background of it all. How it all goes. It goes line in line with 9/11. Federal Bureau of Investigation and Central Intelligence Agency are at 9/11 today, right now, as I speak. You are rigging entire fucking world with it. Corrupting and taking simultaneously, systematically, entire world with it. These groups are jam-packed with the traitors, with the prisoners. Those 3,000 lives, whether they were now worth fucking shit to Americans, or it's just I don't actually understand. I have to come to terms about how you decided for those people to die, including your fireman that you dedicated here, the police officer died, this beautiful painting here. I don't fucking get you. I don't fucking get you. The way you're doing this stuff, I don't understand any of it. Further, initially I was so angry that I posted just a version of the stuff that you see here. Actually, sorry. It was only this part here that I posted at the beginning. And luckily yesterday, somehow I came across this post again after replacing the text that you see marked in blue. It's funny because I usually don't start the posts on a Facebook or through the Facebook. But I became so mad when I saw this picture here that when I saw this interest of the people, you know, this hallucinatory, imaginary, yeah, it is respectful, but this here is a reality. And you don't like the reality. You like the tra-la-la land. You like the tra-la-la land. You like this. You're like snow crystal or whatever, Snegulchitsa, I don't know how you say that, Snow White, whatever was her name, and Seven Dwarfs or whatever, type of Walt Disney type of stuff. You prefer, like on a surface, you know, but under the surface, you fucking hate it. The stuff they're writing right there that is pointing out about what you as a people are all about your ethics. You don't fucking like this. True, doesn't get a fucking like. What it gets like is the imaginary world. By using such a degree of the national corruption, filthiness that you Americans represent, that it makes my account, my story, what I thought about the 9/11 look like a fucking fantasy. Next to the Slovenian, therefore to the Russian, next to the Serbian, to the Russian psychiatric certificate to the lunacy that you Americans awarded me with in 2012. Yes, I became American citizen in 2000, in year 2000. Year before the 9/11, or year and a half before the 9/11. So how do you people feel about this stuff, about this video? You're not confusing anybody. You continue to repeat the lies. Oh, updated it over and over and over again, this text. Yeah, not 3 times. Probably 5 times I updated it until it became like this. Therefore, 5 times I squeezed the edit button right here. Where the hell is that thing? On the side, you actually have the opportunity to change the text. It's called like an edit button. Now I don't actually see it. You might have to go to original post, and you might not be able to change it from here. But on the side, you would have like an edit, edit this stuff here. At least 5 times I updated it, and by coincidence I checked yesterday, and the only thing that I found was this portion of it here, and that's crazy. That's fucking worrisome. That's surely worrisome. And this girl here, Noelle Lean Cassidy, whose profile is quite interesting actually. She sided with me during MKUltra, and so did the other girl. But it's interesting how you find on her all kinds of beautiful pictures and stuff, and you always find something about the bipolar, that kind of, just a little factor in between, you know, just a little bit in between, which is a normal police procedure. This is a normal, it's called undermining. It's called undermining. Mining, I should say. You mine somebody, right? There is the whole true, nothing other but true that the person puts out of it, and in between you just fart a little bit. You just lie a little bit. Well, those little lies, a little bit, if the victim settles for, as this was, they tried to do this with me at Novo Mesto police station, those little things, if the victim settles for, agrees to, they actually destroy his witnessing. The truth is just true. If the whole thing comes out as true, it's true. If it's not, it's just bullshit. Just to find this text changed into a much smaller paragraph, which I posted initially. That's interesting also that I get every 5 minutes from this girl, this text. And after I posted that Facebook altered the text above, I don't know that anybody else would have ability to alter the text, unless the Central Intelligence Agency took my passwords and stuff like this and is now using the third party or whatever. Simply, I'm not aware of it. I posted a comment that you altered my text after I changed one at least 5 times. And, well, I got this beautiful smile here. So this was it. So this is basically you think how you will continue to prove the world something that you started. My goodness, how far was this 1976? So that's 50 years ago. Just by pointing at dead people, using the so-called civil rights, minorities, and as it became evident through ethnic cleansing of Gaza. It's not the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, but look what's happening in Iraq. There's still American troops all over the place occupying one. Syria, where Russians and Americans competed with who's going to drop more bombs on a Syrian population. Afghanistan, which was burned to the ground, that I failed to mention. There's another country here behind. It's called Afghanistan, that Putin didn't like even a little bit because of the Soviet defeat in Afghanistan. Russians were defeated in Afghanistan. Russians are already hiding behind the name Soviet, but really was a Russian empire. All these wars here, really, this one here took place 15 years ago. It was just ripped apart. It's not economically disadvantaged. It's ruled by the thuggery, by the theft, robbery, with Italians and French using it for its own oil interests, rather than, and this is why many people believed in me, because they believed it's going to be a democracy, because they believed it's going to be schools, that it's going to be universities that are going to open. They believed it's going to be a broader society that's going to have access to otherwise, talking about especially minorities and such, denied right to education, employment, therefore jobs, prosperity that will grow, industry that will grow, agriculture that will continue to grow. No, sir. You use my name to vandalize these countries, and since, those are dictators. I didn't like Gaddafi doing war crimes against his own people, Saddam Hussein. I didn't like Assad doing the stuff he was doing. It's a very bad stuff. Very bad stuff. I don't like stuff that went on with these people. And went on to lesson now even on Iran, about how and what should have been done with Iran, because that Iran is developing a nuclear bomb. The Iran, now it's time to burn Iran. Don't you guys think that you did not even manage to resolve this issue here? Do you see what's happening here? Donald Trump insisted that Hamas needs to be killed. completely out of existence. They need to be annihilated, destroyed, killed. Because he claimed they're killing their own people. And now tell me how many of Palestinian people were killed by the Israeli Jew snipers, paid in for by American taxpayers, supplied in for by American taxpayers, by American military arsenal, since what Donald Trump referred to as Benjamin, together with Benjamin Netanyahu, is truce. How many did the Jews murdered on a daily basis, children and women? You didn't even finish this issue here. In fact, you continue to kill, slaughter on side of the Gaza, and you continue to penetrate and murder and kill and attack, assault Palestinian people in the West Bank, which is not attached to the Gaza. West Bank is like practically another country. All through is Palestine, but it's in other side of the Gaza, completely away, separated by Israel. So what the fuck are you doing with your talking about the democracy and so on, and now you're going to have a war with Iran and this and that? What exactly are you trying to, talking to Americans here, what exactly are you trying to prove through this? About who started the war, what started the war when you worked together with the Russians, with the Chinese, when you all worked together with one another. There was even a time, J.D. Vance, Pete Hegseth, there was even a time, it's a really short video, isn't it, when you offered Vladimir Putin that you would have one of American carriers sink in the Persian Gulf. Something that extremely appealed to the Vladimir Putin. Then you changed your mind, whatever it is that you worked out. It must be, however, of interest to the Russians. And I think that's Ukraine right there. To prove that there is nothing you can do, of course, for the Ukrainian people, no? There is undoubtedly truth that Chinese and Russians do have nuclear bombs and submarines, and whatever it takes, most likely, to nuke the United States of America out of existence. I don't doubt it, actually. But I don't doubt the words of the lady who stated, if a single nuke fired on a USA, we would fire all nukes at whoever would fire a nuke on us. Making your argument about proving that there is nothing you can do to Chinese and to the Russians completely obsolete, completely worthless. Making my argument strong. Because whatever you allowed to take place against Ukrainian people here, you never ever would have allowed to happen to the Germans or to the Swedes or to the Finns or anybody else for that matter. Eastern Europe became independent literally for the purposes as I discussed in this video. Literally to be traded for your German, British, French, Italian, colonial, American also, that you dreamed about creating your own country here in this part of the world here, your own state that would give you the access to the unlimited amounts of oil that you would control flow of this oil through the military. Your own interests, I should say. You are so fucking corrupt. I'm talking to you Americans. You're so fucking corrupt. You're so fucking hollow. That those of you that are not realizing, you're not aware about what is actually happening, if there is any people like this at all, because you are so job controlled. They hold you so much by the throat, and it actually appears to you the idea about dipping oil to other countries, that you're not going to even call out. You wouldn't even give me one fucking like here, look, on the post that I posted here. You wouldn't even smell the truth which is posted right here. That's how corrupt you are. You literally replaced a neo-Nazi, World War II neo-Nazi Germany. You fucking hate your Donald Trump, but you love the money. You love the jobs. You love the money so much that you don't give a three fuck about if the whole world goes to the motherfucker land. And the whole world, with your assistance, make no mistake about it, is heading to the motherfucker land. Well, all you can do when it comes to me, you can keep repeating the lies. You can repeat the lies over and over and over and over and over, and for as long as Ukrainian people are willing to go out there and die, you will continue to repeat lies and waste lives. Other than that, I'm not taking any of yours. Since I was baby involved in this stuff. They involved me since I was baby into it. I saw it, I watched it, I saw shit like you, I dealt with a dung like you, Zelensky, Vladimir Zelensky, Ukrainian. It's an alert to the Eastern Europeans that a person like myself is more valuable than entire Ukraine. And giving out people that stand up for their own people is what war on Ukraine was all along, way longer before the Ukraine even came to existence. Ukrainian people have proven, both sides of Ukrainian people, the so-called pro-Western, and I explained you the correlation, I explained you the dependence, how fucking corrupt, criminally corrupt they are in this game. Without even understanding that that other side that has a much more expanded horizon view, the Zelensky side, is holding them by the throat actually. How far they are actually willing to go to fuck people, destroy people like myself. Whether they are doing it deliberately to create the Soviet Union back, or whether they're doing it out of pure evil, I should say pure misery. It's called a misery. I do not know, but they're doing it. Single life like this, lost to the shit like this, to the dung like this, it's a tragedy. But one is a tragedy, but millions that are lost afterwards. This is just, as they say, statistics. Thanks for watching this video. Instead of saying to you till next time, I am just gonna like this wave you like a bit so that you see that I did this video about who created the World War III, where at the present time we are when compared to the World War II, and what actually is happening. This is not even a difficult thing to see. All you gotta do is basically open your eyes and want to see. This is actually fucking incredible. I mean, when I consider just this name here, Zelenskiyy, when I consider this name here, Zelenskiyy, look at this and look at this. And Zelensky was picking up on this stuff. He was actually asking... Hey, shit. Let's do this again. He was actually asking American sites about his namesake. So, I don't have time right now, but if I had time, I would have played with this stuff here. Look, yeah, you can see it right there. It's marked with a red right under the name, Zelenskiyy. You can see it right here. It's marked, and it just doesn't give me any proposition for his last name. It doesn't give me any fucking proposition for his last name. Which is fucking weird. Zelensky wanted this way. He asked, actually, Google founders. He was working on how to publicly pronounce his name in English language long time. So that he would, as he alone stated me, would not be recognizable on my blog, because he was obsessed. Zelensky will have to explain this to you, because what I'm saying is exactly what took place. He was obsessed with the idea of how am I going to spell his name, his last name. And you can see that his name, his last name, spells completely differently. Zelenskiyy with a 2Y. Now, what I have seen, I have even seen more fucked up version. In a Slavic language, really would have been like this. And there is another one. It's called Zelenskiyy. What the fuck is going on here? He hallucinated about how people are gonna browse my blog and not gonna see his name even appearing. That kind of stuff he had on his mind. Well, what kind of a leader the fuck is this? This is a leader from 1976. He wasn't even born then. He wasn't even born in 1976. But that's exactly what the fuck it is. They make them on a fucking assembly line. They make them on a fucking assembly line like you make cars. And they're falling off this, chassis are falling off this assembly line. That's exactly how the fuck they make them. Don't talk to me about no fucking third world, about who started the fucking Third World War. You didn't even pay the fucking bills yet for anything, you fucking scum. You're hijacking me, trafficking me to Ukraine. Since I was a baby. I was born in 1971 on December 9. I'm not a young dude. And you're going to be fucking lessoning me now on who started the World War III past everything we have seen have taken place in between. Forget about under the Soviet Union. But during the so-called Ukrainian independence, when the torture continued to go on like crazy in Crimea, in Donetsk and so on, where they used me to absolutely for the Russians in the future, in the near future, with Putin personally scanning. Through the people like Zelensky, collaborators with the Russians, on whom they're going to have to eliminate in the future when they come to Crimea and to the parts of the Donetsk and so on. And never negotiating, as they did for the second round of a Russian invasion, which commenced in 2022. With the Russian side on how, through the media, they are going to present even the battles as, I should say, especially the battles as. You're not fucking convincing anybody about who started the World War II, how the fuck it all started the World War III, I should say, and where the whole world is heading to. And why it started, the second round of Russian invasion of Ukraine was just, I don't actually even have the words for it. I mean, what you watch in Palestine is just, it is outrageous. Jews cook this fucking war. This is a Jew war, for one thing. And the second war is, this is a German colonial, American colonial, French, Italian war on a Mid-East. They want to cooperate with Americans because it means oil, a lot of free oil, that kind of stuff. It's a colonialism. It's a return of the colonialism. That's exactly what it is. Don't fucking talk to me about who started World War III, how it all started, and where the whole thing is going to, because it's 1940. And the players are almost identical, with a big confusion that took place throughout Eastern Europe, with Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Eastern European countries financing something that Americans and Russians started for the sake of with the Chinese, for the sake of the greater global agenda, for the New World Order. It's all in agreement. Don't fucking talk to me about who started the World War III and who is on whose side. You're not confusing here. I was there, I saw it. I will tell you exactly who did it, how you did it. If you wouldn't want it to happen, you would have never given this away, ever. This here, you never ever would have given any away. If you wouldn't want this to happen, you would never ever give this away. Never. Russia became so modernized upon the fall of the Soviet Union through assistance of Americans, Germans, French. French play a big part in it. That it's fucking unprecedented how they updated their military. They upgraded their military arsenal into a new age industry. New age arsenal industry. Selling it to other countries, third party, fooling around with them and so on. This isn't about Ribbentrop-Molotov dividing Poland only. This is about polarizing the entire world, taking down. This shit is identical to the World War II. And it's 1940 right now, it's 1940. The stuff that went on with me during MK Ultra, it was so disgusting that this individual who caused 1,000 times more suffering, death and devastation, his family of this individual here, who caused 1,000 times more deaths and devastation in this world and suffering. Where the fuck are you? Started to believe that he is me and that I was him. He started with the German Gestapo, with the Berlin, with the Germans, with the French, with Italian fascists, with the Spanish colonialists, with the Norwegian, with the Swedish, with Dutch colonialists, started to hallucinate with the Belgians that I was evil, that I was bad, and that they were actually good. Though both sides of my family participated in the World War II resistance, and this country never ever occupied any other country. Instead was used by the Austrian monarchy as a colony. They started to hallucinate through MK Ultra that I was them. In fact, compare me to Hitler, and they were I, decorating themselves with even World War II medals, hiding the truth about their interactions with the Hitler during the World War II. That's how deluded these people believe that the entire world still is. The entire world is completely, I don't know, hamok, benzona, completely insane, like Jews say. That we are so fucking crazy that we don't even understand. Why the fuck are they hiding him so much? Come on, man, you're a king now. You're a fucking king, come on. Gotta be somewhere in the news. It's gotta be something interesting about you now. It's funny, because he was always at the front pages, and now it's... I don't see it. Even here, I don't see it. They believe the whole world that we are so fucking stupid because they continue to repeat the lies that we don't know anymore what reality is and what is not reality. That's what they believe. They believe that they got us so confused, so fucked up that we don't know what is anymore what. And I'm here to tell you that I bloody remember. I know exactly who is what is. Everything. You're not gonna fool me. You can go and you can repeat the lies in a different ways. You can continue to repeat them. You can flash with the lies. You can tell all the fuck you want, but you're not gonna fool me. You can fool the rest of the world. You can go and you can lie. You can stink the whole world with the lies. You can start another war. The war that you already wanted to... The war basically that you started in 1976. In 1976. And you already tried to convince Russians already before into it. You Americans, you try to do that. You're never gonna convince me in any different. You filthy. You corrupt. You know exactly what you are doing. Exactly what pays off. The insurance didn't pay off. But a global pact, colonization pact, that, however, did pay off. You didn't throw so many bombs on the Middle East for no reason. Don't fucking talk to me about who started the World War II. I should say World War III. The Ukraine, and these were very, very, very alarming signs to me when dealing with the MK Ultra with Ukrainians. Extremely, extremely alarming. The extremely alarming sign to me was that the Ukrainians, despite claiming how they're going to fight like a tigers, that they're going to fight and fight and fight and fight and fight, Ukrainians suggested that they will fight, but that if they're going to lose the war, they're going to lose the war because of me. Now, why the fuck would you lose the war because of me? And went on to claim that I would turn against them and so on. Huh. At the same time, they always had option during MK Ultra, which they desperately demanded from me through the Poroshenko, through all these Ukrainian politicians, presidents. They demanded from me actually to settle in Russia. It was like this, that Ukrainian presidents traveled to the Russia for the torture, for the pleasure and for the pleasure of the torture, or I should say for the torture pleasure. Once they realized that they could not get me on their side, no matter what, and they even tried through extreme violence to convert me into Russian during after Ukrainian independence, they just reserve a little hole in all this madness. That was madness. If I would describe the MK Ultra, I would say it's a madness. If you ask me what MK Ultra is, it's a madness. It's a trauma-based cardiovascular burnout through sleep deprivation, cardiovascular deprivation, cardiovascular burnout procedure is what it is. Trauma-based, through the trauma. Madness, real madness. Imitation of the madness is what MK Ultra was in my case. For every peace of mind issue during MK Ultra, used as a relaxation from the madness, I would have to pay 10 times madness. For everything that was done good, I had to pay 10 times with the madness. This is how they were doing. They were measuring literally madness with whatever was not total insanity, total violence. So much violence I have gone through during MK Ultra is unprecedented. And when they realized that they could not turn me around, they just gestured an option that it might be maybe better that we would all join together, that we will all be in with the Russia and so on. So it was always this factor. They always keep mind open. You know, when they say to you, you have to keep your mind open for possibilities and, you know, that kind of stuff. They always demanded from me, they always enforced from me an option to decline myself, basically to deny my existence, to deny myself. And despite everything, somehow see it over there as a greener grass on the other side, on the Russian side. That's not okay. That kind of stuff is not okay. When they do the stuff like this, you can clearly tell that there's something just not fucking right. And so what this individual is, he's extremely well-trained KGB operative that knows exactly what he's doing. He is doing his stuff on the surface, but then there is the stuff that goes under the surface. And even the stuff that he's doing on the surface is incredibly shitty stuff. He did not go out there and talk about the needs and talk realistically about what Ukrainian soldier is facing and all kinds of stuff that went on. Leaving the people behind in the ditches for the Russians. So many stories about why, explanations on every betrayal that resulted, rationalized logic in a logic way, and expected from me to be silent and just obedient and just follow through and just basically move my head up and down is what was expected of me. This is not possible in my case. I have been in this world longer than Zelensky. Zelensky is 48 years old, not even a young man, but I'm 54. And I was where Zelensky would not even dream about. All through, he was always part of this privileged Soviet Illuminati society. His father was like a Soviet officer, basically. These people felt good about the Soviet Union. Not bad. These people felt extremely good about the Soviet Union. For them, Soviet Union was good. He doesn't have to plead. He doesn't have to plead. And Ukraine didn't have to beg anybody for it. All they had to do is talk about my case. All they had to do is make my face visible. All they had to do is call my name. And you wouldn't have to beg anybody for it. You wouldn't have to go and worry about Israel and Iran and this and that. You don't have to worry about that stuff, that people will not see the Ukraine and this and that. You thought that that would be the case. You thought that I would look the other way, away from the Ukraine. But I did not. And I refuse to look away from Ukraine. Not because of you, Zelensky. You do not convince me. It's not convincing enough. I went on to search for the reason. Why is it that you are so corrupt? Why was it that you searched and for the job in Britain with Prince Charles and in New York, the properties that you search and so on, and You were so many times in New York with your wife, Olena, with Biden, all those properties, and then you realize that you might actually have to go to Los Angeles and that kind of stuff, always surrounded with the Jews and so on. You don't fucking convince me about anything, Mr. Zelensky. We are on a page. You know exactly where we are at. There is still left something out of Ukraine. You still did not put Ukraine completely into zero. And when it comes to Iran, I should say, when it comes to extermination procedure of the Palestinian people, you know, the world have seen it. The world saw you. The world also saw my blog in respect to 9/11. You cannot convince now and say, you don't know about why is it the war on Iran and what's happening with Ukraine and what's happening in Palestine and this and that. Where is it all this coming from and all this and that? You can't be fucking saying that. You can lie, but when the truth gets out of the bottle, is the truth is out. You're not gonna change the truth about why and who created the World War III, about where these things are coming from. You can do all you want. You can lie as much as you want, but when the truth is clear, when the truth is evident, when people see it, you can twist this as much as you want, but you're not gonna twist it out this time. You lied for so many years. You lied for 80 fucking years, or 85 years already. During the World War II, it started before the World War II with Molotov-Ribbentrop plan. It never stopped, this stuff. It never stopped with the Russians. It never stopped. It keeps going forward. Eventually, karma caught up with you. Eventually caught up with you. I couldn't do anything, but eventually what you started in Palestine, and you believe that you're going to overshadow the Palestine, and that you're going to overshadow Iran with a war in Ukraine and stuff like this. It actually caught up with you. It caught up with all of you. You don't fucking tell about who started the World War III. This guy was specialized in asking me, why can we all be together? This guy was specialized in asking me, why can we all be together? Or use other people, Ukrainians, to ask, why can we all be together? Why can we all be together? That's a wrong question, buddy. That's a wrong question, KGB, buddy. That's a wrong question. You're asking the wrong person about why can we all be together. He insisted, persisted, after the initial violence failed. He continued, he reserved the right to the rape and demanded the answer, why can we all get along, why can we all be together? Play a nice guy. Look at those corpses, Zelensky, that you created. And you fucking tell me, why can we all be together? Why can those men not be alive, Zelensky? Explain to me this. Always pointing me out the West as a bad option, as a no good option, as a always where people involved that they're no good, they don't like us and this and that and so on. Of course they don't fucking like you. Of course they're not fucking good. When they see who you are, what you are, how you go about things, the stuff that you do, that you're allowed to get away with it in Ukraine. Of course they're not fucking good. When the animals meet in wild and they match their size before the fight starts for life, for food chain sake. It's the same thing. When they see that you stink, when they can feel where you aim, and they as well as might make logic out of it, Mr. Zelensky. And that is you, Zelensky, who created not the World War III, but who destroyed Ukraine, Zelensky, who burned the Ukraine, who powered, who fueled Russia. Explain these questions, Zelensky. These are questions that I ask you. You did. I'm not asking you, I'm accusing you. You did. Your kind of people, since at least 1976 did. At least. Josip Broz Tito, when he heard about this plan in 1976, when he heard about this, plan to blow these towers up and so on. He said to me, he said to me back then, he said to me, do you hear, do you listen? Listen, Slushai, do you listen? I can recall his words when he exchanged them with the Sia people, in New York. Did you hear? Did you, this is Slushai of Mali. Did you hear this? He became nervous. He did not like any of that kind of stuff, man. But he knew that it's going to happen. He knew that he's going to have to participate in it. And he probably even contributed to it. As I said, it became a big topic. When it comes to existence, there is no such thing as a plan B. Just remember that, people. There is no such thing as a plan B. There is just plan A. And the people with the plan B, what you do is you destroy them, or they fucking destroy you. That's all there is. But like I said, both sides of the Ukrainian, the two sides that I spoke about today, like the type of people like Zelensky, and then also the type of people that you would say that are totally anti-Russian. Both sides reserve the right to join Russia if it would come, worst would come to the worst. That means that Zelensky already penetrated also on that other side and got their leaders. And those leaders felt through the betrayal from the West that it's in their best interest to keep their mouth shut. This is who did the World War III. Let them not confuse you. They're going to lie to you. They're going to tell you all kinds of stories and shit. This is, remember, who created the World War III. This was, I'm going to have to upload again this shit. But this is so, the memories on this stuff for me pertaining to this violence, this Russian violence, Ukrainian violence, they're so powerful, they're so strong. The words such as, they don't like us, they don't like us, they don't care about us, were the most repeated words during MK Ultra. The most repeated words during MK Ultra. The most repeated words during MK Ultra, beginning of the fall of the Soviet Union, before the fall of the Soviet Union. Before the fall of the Soviet Union, about what went on in Kiev with Russians, which oath that they're going to come back, and it is unprecedented that somebody would give nuclear arsenal to the Russians based on the threats that Ukrainians have witnessed were given to me in Kiev, where I was hijacked. It's insane. It's like, for you to do something like that, you would have to be literally completely fucking, either completely fucking insane or Russian. That's where the Zelenskiyy is coming from. They don't like us. They don't like us. Russian presidents, Russian ambassadors to Ukraine, wherever was called during the Soviet Union. They tortured me inside of the Kiev, right out on a plane on a broad daylight, man. Before the fall of the Soviet Union. Giving a death threats, learning about who wants the Ukrainian independence from Ukrainians together with Ukrainians studying people. How the fuck you do this and you give the nuclear arsenal back to the Russia based on what I stated here. The girl that I met over there in Belarus who was involved in MK Ultra was one of the KGB operatives who also traveled around. Tatiana, it doesn't come to me right now. They demanded the fucking war with Ukraine way before Ukraine became independent, saying to me There, behind the house here in the garden during MK Ultra, saying to me that they are very sorry, swearing, but that this is a Russia, it's a Russia, knowing that they have a overwhelming amount of Ukrainians supporting war, Russian war on Ukraine. Ukraine was a Russia upon the fall of the Soviet Union. It was Russia. It was no fucking difference between the Russia and Ukraine. With Poroshenko torturing me in Ukraine, in Kiev, all over the Ukraine, doing his best to get me killed. They all did. All the Ukrainian presidents. The song was, they don't like us. I say, who is it that don't like us? Who is it that don't like? They don't care about us. They don't care about us. This is what was repeated. Through the madness, individual eventually, they were certain, will not register who would go and say, oh, Russians did this and that. There was no difference. There was no difference between the two. I had the people, I had the opposition of Zelensky that did not agree from the beginning, It's like a девушка, девойчица, like a girl, like a virgin girl, did not lost virginity yet. This is how the so-called pro-American side, that's how they behave, like a virgin. Нет, 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 no, no, no. We Ukrainians are schizophrenia. And you agreed to give the nuclear arsenal to the Russians? And the torture continued. You were killing the shit out of me throughout Ukraine? You were killing me over there? Release the fucking tapes that you Ukrainians, what you were doing with me throughout Ukraine. And in the end, you came out and you said, we're going to fight as much as we can with everything we have. We're going to give everything, last breath, everything. And if they are going to betray us, you can't be fucking serious about this, are you? Keeping a filthy little secret like this. And actually hoping for the victory under this kind of circumstances. That's what I call optimism. Maybe even believing that if I would still even be alive, I would settle for your lies. See myself in your schizophrenia, basically. Like that picture that you have seen about this fireman climbing into the skies. Which was, by the way, interpreted to me on multiple occasions as it will all depend on me how I will view 9/11 as, etc., etc. Well, you're not going to turn against the American people. And the American people is the people that is corrupt. They were coming here, they were watching Chuck Schumer's delegation, the Supreme Court corruption, everything, how they were trying to get me killed once I was thrown into the psychiatric hospital in Libya. They came here and claimed that I created the 9/11. That kind of stuff. The last everything that Chuck Schumer had in his sleeves, he was throwing out. You Americans would do, fucking hell, you fucking do. You kill your fucking children and women and fucking everything that comes under your hands. As long as you have somebody else, the third person, even if it's a child, that you can hide behind, right behind that person. Use that person as a proxy so that you can't be seen. It's nothing you wouldn't fucking do, that you wouldn't do for the money, for the oil, for the stuff. You don't talk to me about who the fuck you are, what you are, and so on. That's what this is. This is a world of politics. World of politics is very, very ugly. It's very, very ugly place. It's very, very ugly. It's very, very ugly, but it's still the same as it used to be throughout entire human history. World War II included. That's how this stuff works. A fucking imaginary enemy. The fucking imaginary enemy. That's an enemy that does not fucking exist. The fear, the scare I can swear by God, on a Bible, on everything you fucking want, that Zelensky was the one who created the fucking Russia. Out of fucking nothing. When you see something that does not fucking exist, and you continue to repeat and repeat and repeat that they don't like you, and it's this, and it's that, and so on and so forth. And there you have it. It's the same shit like Jews that put yarmulke on their heads. It's the same thing like I would say, just a random item here. This here is God. This is a God. This is a God. This here is God. Look at the God here. Look at the God. That's how they pray. They put their hands on that holy city of the Israel on the wall, and they go, oh, me returned back after 2,000 years, back to my homeland. What about if I start to repeat lie and I say, oh, this is God, and I put this, I throw in a corner, and in that corner there I am, I start to go, oh yes, oh God, oh my God, my God. No. I start to act fucking crazy, and you're gonna say, oh, he's religious. He's fucking religious. He believes, and it's up to me how I interpret it. It's not allowed to discriminate against religion and sex and what else? You created it out of fucking nothing, that fucking Russia. Like you created a fucking Milan Kucan here in Slovenia out of fucking nothing. I was here, I'm from here. Milan Kucan was history. He no longer fucking existed. You scum, KGB scum, you are using me to create a Milan Kucan. Big fucking wolf. Big thing, Milan Kucan. Police, a home for elderly people. This, they have everything under control. You, Yanis Yansha, you, Loise Peterle, you, Dmitry Rupel, you independent scum. They did not fucking exist, but you blew them like this. Fucking paranoia, schizophrenia, you built them out of nothing inside of the minds of the people. You recreated Russia. There will be no fucking Ukraine until you scum get on a fucking trial. You understand? You can tell all the fuck you want who started the World War III. When the Iranis find out what the fuck is gonna be with the Palestinian people through Ukraine, it's quite understandable for me they went berserk. I just didn't know what the fuck went on at the beginning when it all started. But it became to me understandable that what the fuck are you gonna do, man? Watch your people fucking die? You on trial, Zelensky. You on trial. You going on a fucking trial for the stuff that I spoke about in this video. You Russian, you KGB scum who created a World War III. You did. You can go, you can tell the people ask you, historically they will ask you, Zelensky. I don't know him. I don't know who this guy is. This guy? I never met this guy. Hey, listen. It was the first time I met Vladimir Putin in 2019. What are you talking about? Wasn't it like this? Wasn't it like this? You go and you tell people you don't fucking know anything about me. And you people tell you, no, we don't know. Keep clicking the likes over there under that picture with the fireman, the way they walk with a finger up their ass up there in the sky. I have the New York police officer flashing on my face saying that I'm the only thing they have in this world left. Well, I'm a whole lot, man. I tell you that I'm a whole lot. I'm enough to twist everything around for the last, whatever took place for the last 54 years. Gave you enough for you to understand what took place during the last 4 years. This is not fucking bad. This is not bad at all. If you have me, that's not bad at all. The thing is that, just as I explained in this video, as I video record this stuff, they are looking, every fucking one of you, study you, And you yourself are looking on the other side. That is at CIA, FBI, you make attention, and you use that attention to bargain for the jobs, for this, for the JECA. The guys over there in the Persian Gulf, your guys, your American guys, aren't there for no fucking job. They're not there for free. They're there for this. It's a money time. Yeah, Republicans and Democrats, you just needed somebody like Donald Trump. You just needed somebody with the shit on his rear still stick as he walked through the golf course. You just needed a guy like that. But all in all, when the oil is cheap, you wouldn't say no. If it's free, that's even better. You're not so much different from one another. That's who created World War III. The end of the Soviet Union was supposed to mark a new age. That was supposed to mark the beginning of the freedom in respect to jobs, human travel, that's basically human interaction, prosperity. For young people, no longer to worry about whether they will be allowed to go study, live in peace, actually attend schools, etc., etc. Therefore, legal system. Here in Slovenia, it turned out into a fucking nightmare, as far as I'm concerned. When it comes to the Middle East, that shit is impossible to even describe. I don't understand what exactly you meant when you overthrew Assad, when you overthrew Saddam Hussein, when you overthrew Libyan Muammar Gaddafi. And I don't believe that you can explain this to the rest of the world, because the idea, at least in my head, was to create countries that will work with you. I was not envious of Italy or France. Quite contrary, I wanted to assist, help, spread friendship, cooperation, economic, military, prosperity. Connect these markets together to work closely with one another. This was my idea about it. Why the hell would you otherwise go and overthrow somebody based on his human rights record? Well, you have just proven I was completely wrong. The people whom you presented me to, this is what you were doing during MK Ultra. During MK Ultra, the most repeated phrase was, "Don't you want to help him?" Everything, entire espionage was ran under the phrase, "Don't you want to help him?" By pointing at the government people, how they tortured me, and searching on the side sympathy inside of the government people and people on the side who watch this from the side, I should say. Don't you want to help him? Today, let me ask you, help what? Help to whom? Whom did you suggest it if they want to help me when the people were watching me suffering, dying in front of their eyes throughout the Middle East, throughout the Ukraine, throughout the Africa, throughout the Asia, throughout South America, Central America, and so on? What exactly did you mean by this? Help him. Help him the fuck how? How do you rationalize? How do you apologize? How do you explain your post-intervention in Iraq, Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, all these countries. How do you explain your whereabouts over there? You have a military bases throughout Iraq and in other parts of that world. Syria and Saudi Arabia avoided the war with you. How do you explain progress in those countries? How do you explain what I asked you earlier? The code name for this crime was "Don't you want to help him?" That's how you collected espionage. That's how you recruited spies, basically. How the fuck do you rationalize your madness that you imposed in those countries? They are shooting each other even today in Libya. They are shooting each other in Syria and in Iraq and all over the place. And you keep talking about some kind of terrorists and about some kind of crazy shit so you can dump more bombs and shit. Rather than take people to the school and give them lessons in English and sit with them and start to offer them jobs, whether that be in oil industry or whatever industry that is necessary to get the countries rehabilitated back to civilization. Now they are 100 times backwards. This is worse than when Gaddafi was. This is worse than when Assad was. This is worse than when Saddam Hussein was. How the fuck do you explain this shit? You are ally with the Japan, with the Japanese, with the Koreans. Guess what? They're now white. You have allies like this around the world. How can your allies see a new ally based on what they watch on the media and basically based on what they see is happening today with the Palestine and what you are about to go next basically is Iran and so on? How the fuck do you apologize in their eyes, basically, these things? Well, you do through the tensions with the Taiwan and that kind of stuff you do. You continue to steer shit, basically, keeping everybody on toes. This is going fucking nowhere. Your politic like this is... Who started the World War III? There's a lot of wannabes out there. It's all kinds of crap. Jeffrey sucks type of people. All kinds of garbage. Dressed up in suits. Nicely trimmed. Well maintained and beautifully spoken. But I was there. Since 1972. As a baby, I was thrown into this game. And I watched it. I watched it changing the world about what's going on. The same fucking players the world was trying to escape from the beginning of the world. The same that cut hands and killed people in Congo and Massa in 15 million people. The same that killed numerous people throughout Asia, enslaved them, and throughout Africa, massacred people. Those that erased American natives, Australian natives, New Zealand natives, and so on, so they could make 100%. You already know what. The same shit. The same shit. Actually, Hitler was a baby when compared to some of you that are smiling to the public through screens, through your so-called free press mainstream media. The way things are developing, since I am the one who loves to brag about how I crushed the Soviet Union, the way that things are developing, people soon are going to be fucking asking themselves about what the fuck is this guy bragging about, that he was the one who crushed the Soviet Union though. People soon are going to be fucking asking, why the fuck is this guy talking about that he crushed the Soviet Union? And my God, Soviet Union was shit. Yugoslavia was garbage. Yugoslavia was a garbage. You're fucking undermining me completely. People are gonna say, what the fuck did this guy have out of this so-called European Union and NATO? Why is he so proud about smashing Soviet Union and Yugoslavia when the whole world is going to the hell? You undermined me. You completely undermined me. My God, you're fucking proving. You're proving no matter, regardless of how much I would want this to work out somehow, some way. Be flexible about it, but you're proving you are completely indifferent from 1940. You're proving to be completely indifferent from the colonialism age. You still have the same appetites. You're still trying to conquer the world literally to the ugliest ways humanity possibly could imagine. You caused so much suffering, so much evil, so much death, so much devastation. And it just appears to me that you have in mind another target, bigger. Who is going to be the next one afterwards? Is it going to be a Pakistan? Or is it going to be perhaps Turkey? You continue to undermine the very principles of the fall of the Soviet Union. And you continue to depict yourself in a worst possible light. Actually, you continue to depict me, who you are using as a proxy, in the worst light possible to the entire world. You're proving me wrong on every step of the way with every action you take, you make, decision that you make. You continue the stuff that goes directly against what used to be ethics, beginnings of United States of America in post-African slavery period. And it wasn't about African slavery, but it was also for Asian and for the Caribbean. All kinds of issues involving this. You just go directly against everything that you as a country, as a people, Americans have accomplished throughout the history of the United States of America. You literally assume the role of the neo-Nazi Germany. And you are destroying me absolutely on every step of the way. Absolutely everywhere. For what you continue to prove is exactly the opposite of what we have fought for when it came to the fall of the Soviet Union, the so-called Iron Curtain. You undermined the fall of the Iron Curtain, the fall of the Soviet Union, with year 1940, which you started to enforce. With the World War II, you undermined Iron Curtain. Success of the Iron Curtain fall. The success of the Soviet Union fall, you undermined now with your own fucking issues, with the neo-Nazi imperialist appetites. You're not going to present me like this to the world. You're mistaken about this. There was a time, Zelensky will also explain, when Vladimir Putin was using Zelensky to prove me wrong, absolutely about everything. Presented Zelensky as a president of Ukraine, future president of Ukraine. That was meant more like a game, like a sort of game. This goes way back in time, 95, 96, 97, 98, 94, with me being drugged up, subjected to the torture, with Slovenian side being used in the side of our house to create certain issue, whatever issue that would concern, and present this issue to me, and then have Putin challenge me on that issue. And as I would provide the answer on that issue, Vladimir Putin would go wrong, and he would be using directly Vladimir Zelenskiyy to come on the picture and say to me wrong. And Vladimir Zelensky was presented already back then as a president of Ukraine. How is this fucking guy not a KGB asset, if I might ask you a question? Putin was directly using Vladimir Zelensky to convince me about being wrong about absolutely everything in this world. He then went on to get somebody else. Sometimes in 98, 99, they got somebody else in the picture. And Zelensky moved himself in the background to do more intelligent things. Not to do more intelligent things, but to work with the Putin professionally. He no longer wanted to expose himself to this type of stuff. So how the fuck is this not a KGB asset? You explain to me how the fuck is it not KGB asset? You are out there, Ukrainians, convincing the world that whatever it is you're trying to tell the world, I don't really get you, because I don't understand what you are all about, other than what I explained in this video. You became a subservient of Germans, Americans, British, absolutely Israel, but at the same time, knowingly, you are falling for a Russian trap. Through the war, the type of war it's called a turmoil. This is foremost, it's a turmoil within the state. This is a turmoil. This is a war and the turmoil. The two things are happening. Enemy from the outside and the turmoil within the state. You are completely rebranding Ukraine. You are preparing one for the third attack on Ukraine, which is probably not going to last very long, because by then you're all gonna be re-brainwashed, reprogrammed to see yourself as a part of Russia. How the fuck is this guy not a Russian asset? And he'll be talking about who the fuck created the World War III? Are you fucking serious? This is the guy that you selected? He will be talking to the world about who created the World War III? Maybe to you, not to me. Whatever started as a war against the Iron Curtain, it absolutely turned into a colonialism. Zionist, neo-Nazi type of colonialism. It started as a war on Iron Curtain, as a liberation from under the Iron Curtain, and it basically ended with the stuff that you see right there. That's how it ended. It ended with this thing. It ended with a dozen of countries destroyed throughout the Middle East, wars, one war after the other, countries burned to the ground, people be expelled to the Africans, I don't know what to do with the Africans then, destroy the African race, the black people, destroy them. This is unprecedented. We did not even finish the chapter of what it's supposed to be fall of the Soviet Union, fall of the Iron Curtain. And we are already in a completely other location, just as if the threat of the Soviet Union, under which British royals continue to kill me, torture me, distribute me throughout the world, never even existed. So how the fuck are you going to say to me that you don't have agreement with the Russians when I gave you hundreds proofs in this video that you are so deeply in bed with the Russians that without agreement with the Russians, none of this stuff would have been possible. Yesterday it was threat of the Soviet Union. And we just simply skipped that threat of the Soviet Union for something completely different. We landed right here. That's where we are at. We are right here. This is where we are at. And you expect us basically to fall for this, and use us basically for the trait, colonial trait, for the colonialism, for your geographical colonialist appetite, trade with the Russians, the interest that you have throughout the Africa, throughout the Middle East, and so on. That's where we are at. That's what this shit against the Soviet Union, all this stuff was. You greatly already undermined me. You are really making me to go into oblivion as somebody who makes no fucking sense whatsoever. More through the issues that I describe in this video than in anything else. The way you undermined the fight against the Iron Curtain, your European Union justice against me alone, through the European Court for Human Rights and European Commission and European Ombudsman and United Nations and International Criminal Court, and more even than European, since I'm an American citizen. Your so-called U.S. Justice Department of State, the so-called Civil Rights Division, and the FBI and the Supreme Court and I don't know what. You so fucking undermined me. You took away basically every purpose. You actually are making me purposeless to this whole thing. And believe that I'm going to stand up in defense with my being denied the right to exist, that I'm going to be standing up in your defense for the stuff we see right there in front of us. That's not happening. It's not happening. Don't talk to me about who created the World War III. I am saying to you why you created the World War III and how you created the World War III. So that you're not going to go and lie to the people about who created the World War III. By pointing out literally how you control the people of the United States of America right now, the stuff, people that watch this program that understand the stuff I'm talking about, how you go and how you blackmail them, how you keep the people in shackles basically. Through pointing out how you convinced initially through the insurance fraud. Through the insurance fraud you went on to convince people that 9/11 actually pays off. Never talk to me about who created the World War III. Yes, we are in year 1940 today. We sure are in year 1940. It's 1940 for sure. You may say I'm insane. I don't know what year it is, whatever the hell you want to say. But it's 1940. When compared to your past, it's 1940 today. You are obnoxious with the way your conduct, criminal conduct against me was. Your collective conscience, something terribly, terribly wrong with it. And I actually did become a citizen of the United States of America in 2000, naturalized citizen. And it's not about that I shouldn't, that I'm disgrace of the United States of America. You're fucking disgrace of the world. You people of the United States of America are disgrace of the world. You are disgrace of the world. I might be disgrace of the United States of America because I refuse to go and die in dark. Because I refused to depart into the darkness, into the dark, disappear of the picture, dead. That's the part that angers you the most. But you, as a people collectively, watching, knowing about this stuff, you are disgrace for the world. Today, you are a neo-Nazi Germany. Today, you are a neo-Nazi Germany. Today, you are leading the Germans and Italians and French and British, even adversaries before the World War II. Today, you are leading them all united with a Ribbentrop-Molotov pact, which involves China and Russia against the rest of the world. Today you are at the top, at the peak. Today you are killing children and women. You are doing the stuff that Hitler couldn't even imagine would have been possible to do like this on a broad daylight, with the whole world watching at how it's done. You are setting a new standards for something that is unprecedented and was unseen before you in the history of the humankind. Hitler had a problem when the news came out about cleansing of the people inside of the concentration camps. You have none. You have Netanyahu laughing inside of the United Nations in the middle of the massacre with your full American support on every step of the way. You set a new standard for the stuff that was unimaginable in the past. He did have speakers throughout the Gaza giving the speech when people are dying over there, all over the place. He put the speakers in Gaza so that Palestinian people could hear lunatic from United Nations accenting the importance of getting them killed. It is disgusting, but it's American. This is American. It's America made in USA. Shit is here, this guy here. This man here. Do you see him? You see this here? You're gonna ask him a question. This guy here. This guy. And I'm gonna write it down like this in a black and white. You're gonna ask him a question. Have you or have you not? Till 1998, this man claimed me in front of Vladimir Putin, my being mentally retarded. You see this here, this guy? Inside of our house in the city of the Novo Mesto, in front of me and in front of Vladimir Putin. You understand? This is the question that you're gonna ask him. Have you or have you not? This is the question you're gonna ask him for me, for my sake. This guy, right there, this guy that wants me to see his way, he wants me to see myself in him, in his blah blah. I saw the video now. I found the video that he released about how the Vladimir Putin started the war. It's a very narrow-minded video.
Change the lives people have chosen for themselves. Therefore, I believe and have long believed that Putin has already begun this war, and we're preventing it from becoming a broad, full-scale Third World War.
Let's talk a little bit about the ceasefire talks which are going on. There's talk of another round next week.
This is actually on YouTube. That's sweet because I needed a VPN actually to connect to that website. This is a platform, media, whatever that is, I don't know. But I found this video. I'm gonna include this video right below, and you can compare his video with the information you got from my video. Zelensky claimed that the liberation of Ukraine is just a matter of time. This is just going to come to place sooner than not. And well, I'm not claiming absolutely anything. I just want these things to be evidenced. I want to have evidence about everything that went on throughout the war in Ukraine, everything that went throughout the war in the Middle East, wars in the Middle East. Definitely I'm not going to allow somebody to explain, repeat lies over and over and over next to losing lives about who started the World War III, how the World War III was started. We would have never been in a situation like this one if it wasn't for this here. Okay, you're gonna ask him the question that I told you. This man claimed until 1999 inside of our house in front of Vladimir Putin to me in my face that I am mentally retarded. Putin was using him to convince me about my being mentally retarded. And it all ended in 1990, maybe even in 1998, maybe not in 99, with Zelensky asking him to cut me out of all this stuff because I am just too great of a nuisance to him. And this is actually how he got sympathy from the king. Now is a King Charles Windsor. That's how he got sympathies from Charles Windsor. Once Zelensky considered me as mentally retarded, that's how he actually stayed in the game. Literally the one who was deciding about it all was Prince Charles from Britain, Queen Elizabeth. Okay, I give you details about the stuff that went on. Zelensky, however, can repeat to you together with Putin that the first time the two met was in 2019. I think they published that the two met in 2019 or something like that. I don't know. So that we're not going to have any kind of confusions about this stuff. Putin was literally using him. Putin, it seems that it was in 2019. Putin was literally using him, Zelensky, therefore, to convince me that everything about me, everything I stated was wrong. And even to spit in my face as a future leader of Ukraine, just as I suggested you under this picture. You ask him, you talk to him about it, then Zelensky go and fucking lie to the world about who created the World War III. Then, first pay the bill. First pay the bill, scum. then talk to the world about who created the World War III. So the world can understand what exactly you are fighting for in Ukraine and what the difference is between you and Putin and Russia and etc. Zelensky suggests in the video that Ukraine could still be liberated. That Ukraine could go and liberate entire Ukraine today if it was necessary to do it. It would cost millions of lives. That's all it is. How the fuck do you make a claim like this? How the fuck can you make the claim that Ukraine could go and liberate Ukraine today, that it was just cost millions of lives? Really? I think that Ukraine need a NATO inside of Ukraine. I think that Ukraine need a large air force of F-16, F-15, anything that can get Russian planes blown up from the sky, anything that can deliver bombs to the front lines of the Russians. This is actually what I think. I think that Ukraine needs well-trained NATO American military inside of Ukraine. I think that's already way past due, and I think that Ukraine is lacking greatly in military equipment. A modern, especially a modern, upgraded American, European military equipment, which Americans and Europeans are not going to even give to Ukraine because they fear of what is known as espionage. That's a bold, stupid fucking statement unless you are a KGB agent. Now let me explain to you something about what went on in Kiev beginning 1985, 1986, 1987, where I was delivered and they had some kind of a Russian consul in the Kiev. Oh, he is also wary about that there is some countries who also has a conspiracy going on, that there is countries that are blocking transfers to Ukraine, etc., etc. Of course, European Union, NATO, they will provide with all kinds of leads through which they will try to bail the program known as Zelenskiyy. And the stuff that I discussed today in this video, Yanukovych-Zelensky program that started already way back in 1976. They will try to save one, and they will try to use this program because they have to save, and because they have to save this program. They don't want the public perception to shift into area which I discussed today in this video. They have to save it because it's a long old program based on which takeover of the world is based. They will not give this out. It's not going to be easy to give in. That was a Gorbachev. Should be also. It was the so-called this here in Kiev. I would yet have to research this stuff, but I'm going to make it short and simple. The Gorbachev actually even saved me from some total lunatic. It was worse than Gorbachev, people. That is true, but. A little bit crisis here for me. Honestly, a little crisis here for me. Crisis for me because it was people that I don't find here exactly that engaged in bestiality, Ukrainian bestiality in Kiev. Russians did have their own consulate over there in Kiev. Of course, they did not have name with the Russian consulate, but it was through the Soviet Union. They have their people inside of the Kiev, and these people were very, very obsessed with the idea to get me killed. And, well, they did some crazy stuff in presence of Americans, in presence of Europeans that wandered more and more in Kiev. And then it was independence time. And during this independence time, Russians did something very bad. Ukrainians supposedly told the Russians, or something bad happened. I know that something bad happened. And Americans gestured Russians. This is the incident that Russians inside of the Kiev, together with the Ukrainians, they were developing since year maybe 1982, and they were developing this incident all the way through independence period, Ukrainian independence, still Ukrainian independence. 1991, 1990. '91, and it was this incident, obnoxious stuff, through the total bestiality, torture, filthy stuff, that Americans even suggested them. It was French, it was Americans, and this shit went on in Kiev. They told them, well, if the Ukrainians did something that it was illegal to you, they told them, I wanted to know what the fuck went on, because they always ask questions. What would you do? What would you do about the stuff that went on, about the affairs they were developing, if they were developing them at all? All kinds of crime Russians had going on. All plot, everything artificially created. And so I told them, why don't you go and file complaint to the United Nations, or why don't you file complaint at, what was it, United Nations, and I don't know what I was told, practically to tell the Russians where they should go, and they should complain about the problems that they have with Ukrainians in Kiev. And that's exactly what I did, told them during MKLJ. Well, it was a bestiality that ended in post-Ukrainian independence. Once the nuclear bombs, no. They swear, they gave the oath that they're gonna come back to Kiev, that they're gonna kill certain people in Kiev, that they're gonna bomb Ukraine. This was the Ukrainian independence. This is how the independence went. This is what the Russians started to stress. Ukrainians just like this. Beginning in 1987, when it was completely evident that the Soviet Union is going to fall apart. And continue to torture me in presence of Ukrainians. With Ukrainians, there was really no difference. So the Ukrainians even decided they're going to thank them for that stuff. Obviously, that's how much they love the Russia, by giving them nukes. I don't know how I would otherwise interpret this. Ukrainians had so many proofs that they should never give their nukes away that I am actually quite amazed by this stuff. Once they got the nukes away, that affair was still not over, and that was like in 95 or whatever. Right here in the back of our house, I remember Tatyanushka from Belarus. There's guys who met me in Belarus, where I immigrated in 2017. Those guys are all KGB. Lukashenko was frequent guest here. This was a crew from Belarus that were always coming here. Plenty of this Belarus KGB people. They have their people that were involved in this since my childhood, and these are the people that they will give you company till, I guess, till they kill you. She told me, I don't know what happened, and they tortured me in a Kiev. Russians were using me. Ukrainian state, like it never existed really, with assistance of Ukrainians. And they were creating all kinds of plots and conspiracies and stuff like this to justify the future attack on Ukraine. And this is what they use me to interpret. This is what the independence would look. This is the guy here. This is what we have. This is what it's going to be. I was, of course, no Ukrainian president or any kind of politician, Ukrainian, or not even Ukrainian. But this is how the Putin, his schizophrenic team, interpreted this to other Illuminatis involved in this case. They video recorded this schizophrenia, insanity, and this is how they misinterpreted stuff. Or I don't know how otherwise I would possibly misinterpret. The individual who was especially into this stuff was Vladimir Putin, who was, by the way, meeting inside of our house, just as I explained. And it was this girl, Tatyanushka, who told me, here behind our house, sometimes in 98, they started to indoctrinate me. They started to teach me, indoctrinate me. That the Russians? No, it was not in 98. It was like I said, as soon as they got the nuclear bombs back. The one who started this stuff was none other than Alexander Lukashenko. Lukashenko was the one who was doing this. In 95, 96, as soon as they did not even get nuclear bombs back. Russians, they didn't even get nukes back from Ukraine. They went on ballistically on this issue. Declaring the war on Ukraine. Giving oath in front of the Slovenian police here, in front of the Slovenian psychiatrists. My parents, present or not present, neighbors, whatever the fuck it was, explaining there will be annihilation of Ukraine, deletion of Ukraine, etc., etc., etc. And the stuff that I proposed, how they were teasing me with. When I suggested them back in 97 and in 98 and in 99 that they should just go and complain to United Nations, file the complaint against Ukrainians if the Ukrainians are doing whatever the fuck I told them. You know what they told me? They told me no. She said no. She said. I said, why not? I said, and she said to me, well, because we are Russians. And I said to her, and so what if you're Russians? What do you try to say to me? We don't have to, she said. I said, what do you mean you don't have to? Well, you know, during the World War II and so on, you know, this and that, we don't have to follow the international rule of law and etc., etc. You know, we have a military that does this for us. It is just as simple, because we are Russians like this. It was this type of stuff that went on. This was the attitude. This was the attitude which it's it. Fuck off. I explained you everything about the stuff that went on, under what kind of circumstances did Ukrainians give Russians nuclear bombs, their own nuclear bombs, knowing it's going to be attacked, with Zelensky participating in this shit. Zelensky can tell you all the fuck you want to tell you, that you can go and you can liberate Ukraine today. Sure, it's just going to be a few millions of lives lost. And he can talk about conspiracy theories, how there is countries that there really are, that probably will not process Ukrainians' payments to Ukraine. Yes, of course, it's all kinds of stuff that goes on. The problem is, Zelensky contemplated on this attack. Zelensky contemplated with Vladimir Putin not only news about the countries, there will be countries that will not pay the payments, and everything that you hear about that there will be not enough supply for the Ukrainian troops on the front line from the West. Zelensky planned with Vladimir Putin how the Russians are going to take a big territory at the beginning, and then they are going to be pushed back. Because he contemplated, and he needs to explain this. He needs to explain this to Ukrainian people. He contemplated on presenting his presidency, his entire success of the presidency, of his presidency, to Ukrainian people, to interpret that as his success. That wherever the Russians were pushed out is actually thanks to him, through his presidency. His entire betrayal of Ukraine, Zelensky's entire betrayal of Ukraine was based on a beginning, initial stages of the Russian invasion in 2022 on Ukraine. The huge territory they have taken over, and then they got pushed out of that territory. And that's how Zelensky will justify, that's how Zelensky basically already secured immunity from persecution for the treason against people of Ukraine, against the Ukraine. That's how Zelensky, together with Vladimir Putin, planned on, contemplated on the so-called warfare, entire warfare between the Russia and Ukraine. So this is your president, and you like the president like this, you like it. You badly need NATO jets, NATO planes, not after you're finished with additional loss of your land to Russia. You desperately need them today. This is the stuff that you need today. And you also need US Marines, and you need all European and French and Italian and German and British commandos and everything trained with newest equipment. Equipment they don't even trust you, is what you actually need today, right now, in 2000 and now. You needed that shit already 2 years ago at least to make a difference on a war field if you were out there to liberate Ukraine. Let's keep it realistic. You do need it, but you're not going to get it because those interests instead are transferred into the Mideast, into interest, into colonial, Zio-fascist, Zionist issues, into completely different from Ukrainian warfield areas, into total other geopolitical needs of the so-called NATO alliance, European Union, etc., blah, 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 blah. This is the way this stuff is. And why is this shit happening? This shit is happening exactly as I explained in this video, is exactly why. It's exactly why. Without the people like you, Vladimir Zelensky, this shit wouldn't be happening, because it would be too much black and white. It would be too much evident. Just like you created out of nothing Russia, or that's how Milan Kucan was using me in Slovenia through Janez Janša, Lojze Peterle, Dmitry Rupert, and this garbage. Shit, human dung here in Slovenia. To recreate himself, that's how you zip throat to Ukraine, to Ukrainian people, to Ukrainian nation. That's out of fucking nothing how you, sir, created the World War III out of fucking nothing. What would have been Ukraine already long time ago inside of the European Union and NATO and etc., simply did not fit your own political appetite, Mr. Zelensky. I told you exactly what the fuck it was here inside of this house. I told you exactly how it was inside of the Kiev. Who did it, how it did, where the hell is going, and by God, people are not fucking stupid not to see what's happening in Gaza and over there what already took place and in Iraq and in Syria and in Libya and in Egypt and what is about to take place in Iran. Don't even fucking try. You unleashed fascist Italians, fascist French garbage, fascist French colonialist, fascist neo-Nazi imperial Britons, and neo-Nazi Germans into completely other area, taking away importance of the European Union, of the Europe, and victory over the Iron Curtain. It's like it was an easy fucking thing to do, when in fact it was 1,000 times more difficult than the World War II. We were dealing with the nuclear bombs, with the nuclear arsenal, after all, on both sides of the border. And it was accomplished. And you are fucking taking down every fucking meaning of absolutely not Zelensky only, but all of you guys, of everything I managed to somehow accomplish. Instead of building a new coalition in the Middle East, in Africa, and so on, you built destruction, annihilation, and in post-war aftermath, gangs, terrorism, and joblessness, that people are drowning in a fucking joblessness, and even extermination of the children and women over there in Gaza and so on, is unprecedented. You took the whole fucking meaning out of my case. That's why I did not spoke about this stuff, but you don't bloody know me. I will talk about the meaning of the fall of the Soviet Union. What exactly this fall of the Soviet Union, what the difference made the fall of the Soviet Union for the rest of the world, for the Eastern, and including especially Eastern Europe, which you scum are using for totally other issues, for geopolitical trades in other parts of the world. I'm going to tell you exactly who did and how it was done. That's why I stated, block Ukrainians, stop Ukrainians, don't allow Ukrainians across the border. That's why I stated, grab them by the neck, grab Ukrainians by the throat, block them, grab them by the throat, till the Ukrainians alone come right here at the entrance of this house and clarify this case for what it was. Grab Ukrainians by the throat, squeeze the fuck out of them, till they clean the mess, till they pay the bill. It's a 54-year-old bill that Ukrainians need to pay. If you're not going to be doing this kind of stuff, you're going to be next one in line, because it's spreading like a virus. Now you have Ukrainians immigrating to the Western Europe, throughout the Western Europe. They don't fight in Ukraine, many of them. They are collecting money throughout, they are collecting your jobs, they are collecting your employment, which is the right thing to do under normal circumstances. They are getting wealthy. Either there is going to be Ukraine, or it's going to be Russia, or whatever the hell it's going to be, when they're going to return back, they're going to be buying for cents on a dollar the real estate. This is one of the things. The second thing is, if it's going to be a Russia, even more so, you're going to see how the Ukrainian people who immigrate abroad to you, to Germany, to France, to Italy, to motherfucker place, whatever, you're going to see how friendly they're going to become with the Russians especially. And what's going to happen is, you're not going to have Russians and Ukrainians, you're going to have Russians. You're going to end up with the Russians. And why this shit is happening? This shit is happening because you allow Ukrainians to get away with it. You allow Ukrainians to escape more than with a crime. You allow them to escape with it with a World War III type of crime. With something most disgusting that Ukrainians are going to tell you, that's why we wanted the independence. Yet I'm a little hostage Ukrainian here. For 54 years already that Ukrainians don't want to admit. They don't want to recognize. They hallucinate about some kind of freedom, about European Union. And I don't know what the fuck they hallucinate. At the same time, they are already explaining about who created the World War III. You let Ukrainians pay the fucking bills. Grab them by the throat. Don't fall for it until they come black and white about what the fuck went on. They are a virus till they're going to clarify these issues, come out black and white about what the fuck it was. No support for Ukraine. No such Ukraine like this. The Russians were extremely, extremely effective in killing, cleansing people throughout the Eastern Europe. Exactly because of the issues that I explained in this video. Do not allow Ukrainians to escape. Let the Ukrainians come clean about the stuff that went on, about the stuff they don't want the world to know, the world to see. You fucking explain who is mentally retarded, Zelensky. You need to fucking explain with your fucking Ukrainians about these things so that people will understand what Ukraine is and why the money is going to Ukraine. Don't complain about how there is countries that they block the money and this and that. You come clean about things, about the stuff that it was, which shouldn't be a difficult thing for you to do, because you're Ukrainian afterwards. And I'm certain you would not want Ukrainian people to live or have lives like the one that was mine. There's got to be a reason for your independence. Then we can talk about the things, about the stuff. You didn't even pay the basic fucking bill, boy, and you're talking to people about who created the World War III, when your name, Zelensky, is the World War III. You created a fucking World War III. This was some kind of consul from Moscow, some kind of Russian, that it was in Kiev, that they attacked. They had this palace ministry, whatever the fuck they had from the Soviet Union, and they had this Russian apparatchiks inside. Yeah, they have a palace. I remember this. It was a palace. It was like a state building. When it was not one building, it was like two buildings or something like this, 2 buildings in Kiev they have. And there was some kind of attack on him, on this attaché, this Russian, Soviet, of course, individual. There was, because Ukraine was part of the USSR, so he was attacked on this Russian main guy, because this building where they would continue to deliver me inside of this building. They also had Ukrainian people working inside. And this guy was ahead, and there was some kind of attack on him. And this attack was completely imaginary, fake attack. In 1982 is when this attack started, with Russians claiming me that they're going to test me out. We were already in this house here. They were inside in this living room area. They came, KGBs from the Russia. And based on that stuff, they told me they're going to see what to do with me, that they're going to give me another chance and so on. And it seems like that I did not perform according to their expectations. And they went over and over and over, and they rehearsed that attack on this Russian attaché, consul, Soviet Russian. It was Soviet Union was Russia, not everything else is stupid. that's exactly what pertains to this incident, which dragged and dragged and dragged until literally I had a Russian, even Gorbachev threatening me with death threatening me in Kiev and stuff like this. Yeah, Gorbachev came to Kiev, Gorbachev death threatened me in Kiev. Literally he was giving me a death threats. It appeared like he was under the pressure from other peers, comrades, whatever. They absolutely wanted me dead. How much is it? 2,000 kilometers from here to Russia? I think 1,500 kilometers. They behaved like they're fucking owners here. This was their house. They owned this place here. This is the way it was. Till you fucking clarify these issues, and I stress a lot of other issues, you understand? I don't see the purpose in supporting some kind of schizophrenia and see today myself in your Zelensky Ukrainian lies. In tomorrow is third attack on Ukraine to demonstrate Eastern Europe just how invincible Mother Russia is, because this is what the fuck it is. It's a different type of warfare. It's a warfare through terror, through terrorism, hijacking, trafficking, presenting yourself in completely irrational, impossible circumstances with traitors surrounding victim. And based on exactly as I described in this video, then misinterpreting the illusion to the rest of the society. And in fucking Poland and in Czech Republic and Slovakia and Croatia and Bosnia and in Serbia they don't have to worry about, but what else? Bulgaria. I doubt about Romanians would be so stupid they would get themselves into this shit, but this is what this shit is. This is what this was, and this is what you continue to do. You are not telling as it is. You're not explaining the world exactly the way it was. And that actually cost you, because you are a schizophrenic talking about your version about who started the World War II. You say Putin did. Putin has an agreement with America, with Germany, with France, with Italy, with everybody from the West. Because 9/11 was bombed like this. With your Ukrainian opposition being completely aware about it, and who have insisted during MK Ultra that no, they keep the window open, the door open for the possibility of becoming part of the Russia. They suggested if they would not give us enough help, assistance. So this is a plan B. So this is shit next to the shit. One shit advocating other shit. And this is not the way it works. Because like I said, you needed NATO troops, you needed arsenal, you needed all kinds of stuff. And you just didn't get any kind of stuff. Because NATO, European Union, they were concentrated into other interests that are of much bigger importance to them, and which they can only access through the Russia. So your argument against the Russia is bullshit, my friend. Bullshit, Zelenskiyy. Just like you are bullshit. Explain this to the world. Talk to the people about this stuff. Be fucking honest about who created the World War III. And you Ukrainians too. Be fucking people. Be people. Try to be humans.